Hello homies and welcome to our YouTube channel where we teach you all about type 1 diabetes. My name is Caitlin, I'm your all's type 1 tour guide, and behind the camera is Emma, my partner in crime. In today's video, we are going to be talking about my diagnosis story. I'm going to walk you all through how it happened. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I'm fairly new to this whole diabetes thing. I was diagnosed on September the 9th of 2019. I've had it long enough to kind of know what I'm doing though, so I'm going to tell you all how I was diagnosed. It was honestly an accident that I was diagnosed. I had a regular routine doctor's appointment and asked to be tested. So type 2 diabetes runs in my family, not type 1. I wasn't really expecting to be diagnosed with diabetes walking into this doctor's appointment, but I'd been noticing some symptoms such as like extreme thirst, extreme hunger. So I thought, maybe I'll just mention it and see what happens. So I had my regular checkup, and we get to the point at the end of the doctor's appointment when he's like, "Do you have any questions or concerns?" So I looked at him and I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to be tested for diabetes." And he asked me, he was like, "Well, why do you want to be tested for diabetes?" And I told him it was because it runs in the family and I'd been experiencing some symptoms. So he looks me in the face and goes, "I can tell by looking at you, you don't have type 1 diabetes." And at that point, I'm kind of like, does a type 1 diabetic look a certain way? Like, how can you tell me that? So it's one of those things that kind of just, you know, hurts your confidence a little bit. But eventually he tested me. He found traces of glucose in my system, and so they decided to do a finger prick with a glucometer. When they tested my sugar, it just read high, which meant that my sugar was too high for the pediatric glucometer to test. So from there, he had to admit me to the children's hospital because he couldn't just let me go with a sugar that high. So that night I checked into the children's hospital and they checked my sugar and it was well over 400. And my A1C was also 14.9. Keep in mind that 7 is high, so my A1C was really high. The nurses told me that I was pretty lucky that I had self-diagnosed myself and gotten tested, because if not, then I probably would have passed out, and that's how they would have found out. So I ended up spending the next 2 nights and 3 days in the hospital as they trained me on how to use all the important stuff I need to know, like how to give myself insulin and how to check my sugar, and how they also adjusted my numbers, so I had to stay in the hospital for that as well. When I finally got to leave, it's a little bit of a change. It is a change. There's a lot that is different, but at the same time, it's just another obstacle that you have to take and keep going. So the biggest lesson I can pass to you all in this by telling you all my story is self-advocation for your health. I think it's super important to self-advocate and, speak up when you feel like something is wrong, because I very easily could have said, "Oh yeah, you're right, nothing's wrong with me," and just moved on. But I stuck with what I believed, and turns out that actually helped me for the better. So it's really important to just communicate the way you feel. Don't let people like your doctor or your parents tell you that you're self-diagnosing and that you're fine, because we know ourselves better than other people do. So yeah. Alright, well that's it for today's video. Until next time, homies.